All right, we're live. Not live, we're recording though. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm Ashley. I'm the Education Programs Manager for Metis. If you would like to introduce yourselves, Mitch, we can start with you.
Yeah, I'm Mitch Rankin from South Africa, and I'm the co-founder of Forward Protocol.
Nice.
So, guys, hey, glad to be here today. Pretty excited to be part of this community, to share our thoughts and etc. So, I am Key, Karnika E. Yashwant. People usually call me as Key. I'm a co-founder at Forward Protocol. I come from a mix of tech and marketing background, and I believe in blockchain adoption.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So with a conference call kind of set up, it's easy for there to be some lags and, who's going to talk next, but don't worry about it. We'll roll from there. So y'all can kind of bounce it off of one another, or I'll direct questions to each of you individually. So I just kind of want to get started with an overview of what Forward Protocol is. So can one of you describe for our listeners what you're all about?
Go on with it.
So Forward Protocol makes blockchain adoption easy. It's a no-code environment, no-code Web3 toolkits that is set up for businesses in the traditional world to utilize the functionality and the power of blockchain without the technical knowledge and the difficulty that's needed to actually access those tools and participate in that whole ecosystem. So what it essentially does for companies is it takes away that barrier to entry, which is the huge capital cost to actually get into the space, and then the long development timelines. And it simplifies it in a platform where you can download and deploy the applications and utilize them in your business.
Excellent. I'll confess that I'm brand new to blockchain. I have an education background. So coming on to a team that is like Metis, who's so focused on making sure that the blockchain is accessible to people and that you don't have to have a lot of development experience in order to play. That's really important to me. So I love that aspect of Forward.
Yeah, well, we're going to have some fun this afternoon. It's going to be good chatting.
Say again?
So we're going to have some fun this afternoon then. It's going to be really nice chatting about it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'll be sure to ask all the basic questions just for our listeners, but no. So I think that there are obviously a lot of industries, when I was kind of looking through the toolkits that you offer, that would benefit from partnering with Forward. But what made you think to focus on educational organizations and applications for supporting a decentralized education system?
So essentially, where we started out was looking at the deep ed space and seeing the problems and the solutions that could be created with smart contracts and creating an environment like that. And a lot of it was on the back of the earn to learn idea, where you could literally be rewarded for completion of certain tasks, courses, etc. And there's still that need is prevalent throughout the world to incentivize the adoption of learning.
So when we talk about education, the biggest thing that attracts me to is the size. It is not only is it a fundamental thing that everyone has to go through at some point in their life, but beyond that, it is it's like sheer number of people. I mean, if you go to any space, you have X amount of audience, but with education, you have the whole world right before you, and it's a lifetime thing. If you're not serving for something as basic as water, air, or food, I guess education is the next best opportunity there, which serves everyone and serves throughout life. So it was a very ideal place to start. Because if you can take up that challenge and solve that at that scale, you can literally do anything out there in the world. Nothing can ever stop you, and that excites me. I think end of the day, the bigger the challenge, the more exciting and energetic everything, the momentum becomes, and that's that there. But as Mitch was saying, the moment we started building the solutions for education, we soon realized that the same solutions, because end of the day, we are looking at transfer of value and incentivizing it, that is needed by every other sector and space. So people are reaching out, wanting to use it in other sectors and other places, and we are happy to let them use it and happy to work with them on that. And that's how we ended up working on multiple verticals. But we still continue building in the education sector because, we talk about in the DeFi world about 1 million users coming to the DeFi as a great story. Right now, you have an opportunity to bring in 1 billion users. How can you reach that wider audience? How can you reach and bring such a massive number of people onto the blockchain, onto what we are building here? Unless we tap into a market which is large, which is fundamentally essential on a day-to-day basis, and something that people of all age groups can use, especially the younger ones, because they are the ones who are adopting blockchain tech faster than anyone else. And education was the perfect fit. And Mitch has this amazing quotes with him. So basically, the whole blockchain adoption is the one of the most important things that we focus on.
That's so exciting to hear. And in my graduate studies, I did a lot of needs assessments for communities that were developing. And it seemed like the data time and time again was pointing to education as being like this hub for all social change. No matter what public sector needed support, it seemed like education was the best intervention to get to the root of the problem. So it's really exciting that you're using this to reach that many more people. And I love the earn to learn or learn to earn kind of model, because I would use that in my classroom with my students. We need incentives to stay focused and to make growth. And when there are like so many courses that are available to us, but maybe they're free, there's no real skin in the game, it's really easy for us to kind of like drop off of that discipline. So I love that that's the model that you took. Yeah. So one of the things I noticed when I was looking at the website is just how you're trying to make it really easy for educational organizations to jump on with this like drag and drop interface. I'm kind of wondering like what it looks like for you to create something that could be kind of a plug and play thing for many diverse organizations, but that just seemed very user friendly. What was that process like?
I think when we started to think about it, we just started to put ourselves in the shoes of a normal user. What happens there? What is that journey the user is going through? He is thinking about an idea and he wants to bring that idea to life. What is a process that he has to go in a real world for something as simple as putting a website live? In the past, it used to be different, but now he just goes to a site like WordPress where he just clicks a button, it gets deployed, and then he changes the name, settings, and everything, and he goes live with it. It's simple. If he has to, I know a lot of people right now, even if they think about a business, they put up a website to ideate, structure, finalize their business thought process, because it makes it easy for them to see it and feel and finalize how they want the business to work. It's the same thing with the blockchain, but right now you need to go find a VC, raise funds, then painfully find developers who don't exist, and you work with them to get something done, which might take 6 months to 1 year in the process, when the business might change, or you might change, and that might not even be applicable anymore. So apart from making it easy, it is also about reducing the time it takes and the cost it takes to move from idea to reality, because innovation can only happen if people are able to move faster, fail faster. So what we really facilitate for them is to fail faster, so they learn what they want to do and they build what really matters and they win end of the journey. And creating all these different applications where they don't have to have the technical knowledge, because there are tools where right now you have certain tools in the market, but you still need to use API for it. You need to code something. You need to put a snippet of code. You need to understand some libraries to do something. But of course, you again depend on developer. But if someone can deploy the front end and the back end in a simple way, without that, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, as someone who has a vision towards something, if they can all do that, that is when the adoption will happen. That's when they'll take it to their users. They'll market their own business to their users, which is on blockchain, which brings more blockchain powered users. And if the blockchain industry has to grow, simplicity is the key. So we pretty much test anything that we create. We try to show to people and see if someone from a real world, from a world where they are not used to technology, if they are able to use it, great. If they are not able to use it, then we have failed in it. We have to retry, modify, improvise, and keep building until the point when someone in the real world looks at it and says, hey, I get it. It's simple. You don't have to explain it to me. And at that point, it works. So we keep tuning and working towards that objective for every product that we create.
I love that, especially as someone who's kind of coming into this world with very little experience and just kind of learning more about how this technology could be used as an impetus for social change, and not having this focus on like how to trade crypto and all of that in my background. It's really exciting to see more and more projects trying to make it accessible to people who really want to do something innovative. So just in kind of going through the different offerings that you have in your white paper, there are all kinds of course creators and platforms for education out there, and for people to come forth and like share their knowledge and then earn some income from that. But one of the things that really struck me was the opportunity for people who are in public education to earn what they're worth, or earn a little bit more, like be fairly compensated for what they're producing as far as coursework goes. And for them to like bridge that gap of inaccessibility with students to make easier access for all. I loved all the different options that you had in those smart contract templates, because in the US right now, we're facing this really disruptive teacher shortage. I think it's more than in just the United States, but I think people are getting disheartened at the idea of being in education anymore because of all the barriers to doing it well and like figuring out what makes the system work for everybody, but also doesn't exhaust and deplete the people who are in charge of like making things happen. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the different templates that you offer and how you envision them kind of supporting a decentralized education space.
Yes. So I'll explain the technical part, and I'll let Mitch share some real world examples following that. So each of the contracts that we have, the 5 of them, they are all incentivizing value transfer. Whether the value transfer happens from one to one, many to one, many to many, or one to many. So these are all the 4 combinations you have. If you can incentivize this process, structure it right, and create a model of active rewarding and a passive rewarding, then you pretty much have built a very dynamic system which can work anywhere and track any form of value in any industry for that matter. So when we look at it from education space, the natural way how people learn is more complicated than what we realize. Because when we look at education, we think about schooling, where there's a teacher teaching 30 people or 20 people or whatever the number of people sitting before him or her. And we think about it as a one-way street. Right now, you have interactive core methods of learning and whatnot, but it still doesn't come close to what it truly means to learn. Learning is a community process. You learn more from your people around you, in your home, in your, with your friends, in your environment, neighborhood, than you learn in your schools or college. You learn more from the people in the university than the teachers in the university. So if learning is a community-driven thing, why should rewarding just be a one-way street, or in a very confined model? It needs to be more liberal. So that is where this started, because if you look at my background, I dropped out of 10th grade and started my business, and all my life I had to learn from things across, and that has given me that learning perspective on how the learning practically is taking place. And being with a lot of such people, it has shed a beautiful light on that. So let's say the proof of value contract. The objective of proof of value is for many people to teach many people. Everyone sharing, co-creating, and working with a community of people to teach them all. And the people who are learning there can teach others. And it's a co-creation process. The best example is a platform like Quora, where people are asking questions, answering questions. The same guy who's asking can answer someone else's. They all share, and the same person's question is answered by many people giving their own perspectives. So it is a community-driven learning process there. And that needs to be incentivized based on the value of what someone is sharing, what someone is delivering there. You cannot really let them just share without being rewarded. If the platform makes money, why not share it with people who are the reason why the platform makes money in the first place? And why not build a model where people are really, their participation, if that makes money, they earn money in the process, which creates some kind of a revenue chain for them. So if they like helping more people, then let them do this full time. If it makes them enough money, they don't need to be a low paid teacher, because teachers are not paid sufficient. That's the biggest problem in many parts of the world. And then they expect them to produce great quality work. It's a chicken and egg story. You put them in a bad position and you expect them to do good, and you put them in a bad position because they don't do good. And where does it end? Where does it start? You don't know that. But when you give these teachers or people who are experts, I don't even call them teachers, because teacher again puts them in an education system, but they're experts. They're good at something. If they're not good at something, they shouldn't be teaching that. But if they're good at it, it doesn't matter whether they're a teacher or not. They can share that knowledge. And when they share that piece of information in a model, in a form that they like, with the freedom, they become more expressive and they deliver better. So now there's a lack of accountability in the existing system. There is lack of accountability to quality and keeping people sticking to that path. People quit. People don't pursue. It's because that system doesn't have the dynamics, the gaming dynamics of incentivizing someone to finish what they start. So when you bring in these elements and bring in the human element in there, you create that system, which is what we have with the proof of value incentivization, with proof of value delivered, incentivizing someone to finish a course, incentivizing someone to finish something that they start. So people are motivated to finish. At the same time, the other party, the expert, is also motivated to help them finish. If you don't incentivize both parties, it becomes a one-way street. It becomes a place where one party is not even interested in seeing whether the other person finishes or not, because they already got paid, whereas the other person is struggling all their way through without the support. You need both parties to be equally incentivized. Put them on a level playing field. Both needs to have equal amount of reward on completion of something. They need to have equal amount of reward for contributing something qualitative. And that is what happens with the power of decentralization, with micropayments and automatic rewarding process, smart contracts. You get to make that reality. You remove judgment out of the equation. You remove individual perception out, but you rely on pure logic to make that happen. So each of those contracts serve a different purpose in that manner and form. Initial value offering is about fundraising. So the teachers who have great knowledge to share, but they need to raise funds to create the course, can do it. And then their money is also not given to them together, but with a consensus of the users. And there are different models of configuring that. So distributed reward and revenue sharing focuses on the passive income model. The more you contribute, the more money you make in the future from the more people you help them make money with. So the more people you help, the more impact you create, you become richer. Not only in the traditional sense of help more people and it's good for you, but in more practical sense, you actually make money out of it. And that is quantifiable and something that you can see in your hand, end of the day, end of the journey. So that way, each of the contracts were designed to serve a particular purpose. And in many ecosystems, you might need more than one contract for them to have the complete cycle built. They can still run with the contract, but if they have more than one, they make it much stronger as an ecosystem. Mitch, I'll leave it to you now.
It's funny, when we think about learning in the normal traditional sense of the word, we just think about schools or colleges, universities, etc. But if you think about the job environment, you've got a workforce, you've got a certain salary bill at the end of the month. And at the end of the year, the workforce expects a 13th check or a bonus or something like that. But what you expect from them is to do the best job that they can in the position that they've been hired in, and to learn so that they can actually further the aims and the profitability of the company, whatever you're trying to achieve. But it's very difficult. So if you were to ask this question to an HR department and say, okay, you've signed up for LinkedIn Learning, you've got 50 employees, how many of them actually complete the learning, and how do you measure whether they are doing it or aren't doing it? The answer is they can't. So how do we put the onus on an employee to actually go and get upskilled and learn? We can incentivize that with the proof of value delivered. So we could say to them, right, you're going to get a 13th check this year, and let's just say it is $2,000, for example. But what we're going to do is we're going to break that down into 12 monthly payments or rewards that you earn when you've completed the milestones that you need to every single month to upskill yourself in your job position. So what we've done now is we're actually linking the learning to a reward. So the employee knows, look, if I only complete 50% of the actual upskilling and learning during the year, I've contractually agreed that I'm only eligible for 50% of my annual bonus. And that way, the employer can actually get much better utilization out of training and the money that they're actually paying for training. And the employee is actually incentivized to learn, which makes them better for their job. It makes the company as a whole better. It improves morale because they're fitting where they want, in the things that they like doing and they're learning for. And overall, you get a much better ROI at the end of the year because you've got an upskilled workforce, a very targeted way of actually rewarding people for completing stuff, and a sifting process of showing who the employees are that are eligible or suitable for like a management program, etc. Because now they're getting naturally filtered by their ability and their interest and the actual proof of value delivered, which is that smart contract. So it's a very useful way of actually tracking the value that gets transferred and delivered. And it can be utilized in an example like that, which is a normal corporation or in a school environment or in anywhere where you're trying to incentivize that transfer of value, and track it and incentivize it with a monetary value. So it really deals with the monetary value of a course and the incentive reward. And it's an extremely useful application to use in any of those environments.
I could definitely see that. I love the idea of thinking about education as so much more than just what happens in a traditional classroom setting, because you're right. We learn in so many different ways, and it's a constant thing environmentally, even when we're not aware of it, we're learning. Can you talk a little bit about the functions of the forward token? I think for me and for a lot of new people to this space, understanding like the difference between a crypto coin and a token and like how a token can have different uses and all of those things can feel like a lot. So what about the forward token?
Okay. So forward token is the basis for everything that happens in the forward ecosystem. So on the simplest level, you have forward chain, which uses forward token as the gas fees for the transactions. That is the base example. On top, you have forward protocol, which can work with any blockchain out there. It works with any EVM and Rust-based blockchains, and people can deploy application to any of those places. And anything created out of the forward factory, which is where they customize and they deploy, a percentage of the transaction is charged as a fees, and that is paid in forward tokens. And that fees will be the revenue for the platform. It will be revenue for the ecosystem, and that's something that businesses will need. And at the same time, they also need to reward their users. So all the reward is in terms of forward. So let's assume that there is $1,000 being paid by a student to a teacher on a proof of value delivered contract. That comes as a stable coin. But then if there's a $200 reward going back to the student, that $200 immediately from the $1,000, it goes to the market, buys $200 worth of tokens, or if the platform already has a wallet with token stored, it gets it from there and puts it in that reward wallet and stores it there. And that reward is given to the user at a later point in time when they meet the criteria. So now if you look at it, the forward token is constantly bought from the market to keep storing the reward wallets and then given back to the user when they finish. And this functions on a different scale. So this need is there every single minute, every single hour for these platforms. And this happens as a constant and never-ending process. So the forward token is the fee token, it is the governance token, it is the reward token. It is used as the medium, as the value transfer medium within this entire ecosystem on a consistent basis.
Thank you. I read something about, I can't remember which one of the contracts it was in, but where having a certain number of, like having more tokens would kind of almost lend to this like pay to play aspect where, the more that you have, the more you can offer, the more interaction you'll get. And so you introduce this idea of like a ranking based on like reputation that would kind of help overcome that bias. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in any ecosystem, the loyalty is determined by a person's activity and how much they trust a system. It cannot be one of the two. It has to be both of them. So we created an algorithm which balances a person's contribution, which is evaluated by the rating, other people's reviews, peer comments and whatnot. So it uses social proof to bring in the credibility as an expert or as a member of the community, and also the holdings of the forward tokens that they have as the level of focus or the prioritization within the platform. So both of those are used together to build that reputation management system there. So if someone is just coming and buying a lot of tokens, it doesn't make them rank any better, because they don't have the credibility of participating in the ecosystem. But if someone has been participating a lot, but then they're not loyal to the platform, they still don't get that most exposure because they don't hold the tokens with them that makes them valuable within the ecosystem of as a believer of what they see here. So it's a beautiful mix between that. So obviously, when they meet that eligibility criteria in terms of the quality of contribution, and then they have the tokens held, that will help them to prioritize anything that they do. If they apply for a job, their job list in the application could be higher up than someone else's who was new to the platform, who has no history on the platform, who is not even part of the community, who just probably joined 3 days back. If someone is posting a request for a job, or posting a question, or someone is trying to apply for a freelancing job, whatever the case may be, this criteria is used to prioritize and place them. But we still give the access to the platform itself, the platform who's deploying it, to customize this criteria to an extent, based on what suits to their platform, to their interest. But end of the day, that is a provision that is provided there to pretty much keep the low quality activities or spammers at bay and focus on actual qualitative value creation in the process. So that is that's a similar model to people stake to get access to something, but we don't ask them to stake. We're just asking them to be in the ecosystem, holding and transacting in it. The more they hold, the more benefits in terms of fees they get. The fees that the platform charges, that keeps going down, and the benefits they have keeps increasing. So it is more incentivizing for them to continue holding it as a participant of the ecosystem. It gives them more benefits than anything else.
Thank you. So yeah, I appreciate that, because we don't want to think about having this barrier being whoever can have the most money, or and these like governance issues, whoever owns the most tokens. So we have these whales who kind of corner a market on something and make all the decisions. So it's nice that you can have like a balance between what I'm contributing and how I'm participating and how much I really am invested in the project. I think that's awesome. So I guess I'm wondering, using these protocols, like what is your vision for the future of DED? Like where are we going from here?
So there are two parts to this. I will explain the way I see the future of decentralized education, and Mitch can explain the impact it would create there. So I see a world where a person from any part of the world is able to learn from any expert whom they deem to be credible, whom they deem to be great at what they do. They're able to learn directly from them. And they don't have to be limited by geographical limitations. If you want to learn a course, and if you cannot find anyone in that 10-kilometer radius who can come to a school or university to teach, if you're not going to learn that for the rest of your life, that is a problem there. So being able to access experts and learners from any part of the world, and at the same time, them being able to choose the model of how they want to learn, because not everyone wants to teach in the same way. Not every expert wants to, teach the same type of audience. They all have their preferences, and learning cannot be forced. It has to be a preferential one. So if I like to learn from a fashion designer who is into marketing on how to market something, I like to learn from him rather than someone who is selling missionaries in industries on how to market. Because there's a difference in how they market. Every industry specific changes. And when I'm learning something in the world, why don't I learn from someone who can give me examples and stories from an industry that I like? If I like a sports guy teaching me something, then I rather learn from him. It makes my learning process more immersive than learning it in a boring format. So the ability to do that changes with whom you learn with. So choosing whom you learn with, and the education model will be a more of a credit-based approach. You need 10 credits in marketing. It doesn't matter what type of marketing you learn from or which sector of marketing you learn from. You need credits for each of these criteria to finish a course. Then you just need to chase the experts and choose the ones that you want to learn from to get those same credits. The most difficult thing in the current system is the entity who is teaching, the place where you learn, the place where you experiment things, and the place where you socialize, and who certifies is the same. It is a broken system. They can just do anything they want. So all of this has to be different. The guy who is teaching me should be different from the one who says what is a course model to get some certification out. The one who conducts an exam certification body should be an independent body who's completely separate, isolated from this, where I just go pay for my certification and they certify me if I pass the test. And the laboratories, if I need a biology laboratory, then I can just go and pay per hour, like I pay to the gym and pay to the personal trainer and learn in the laboratory based on the materials that I've been taught. But this makes the entire system robust. I can learn from anywhere. You don't have to learn from a region. I can be traveling around the world because I know labs are accessible anywhere. I know I can access experts from anywhere. So people can have a better quality of life experience and community interaction much early on in their life, not after 25, 30, I'm going to go and start traveling the world and working remotely on a job. Well, you can learn remotely as well. Remote learning is possible. You can travel anywhere, be a digital nomad learning. So all those possibilities open up, and we will see a world where teachers make money for what the quality is. If they're really good at something, they make a lot of money because they might be teaching 10,000 students. It doesn't matter if they charge $10, they could be making $100,000 a month instead of $5,000 in a university or $10,000 in a university. And they could be a teacher who was not very good, but they're good at facilitating. Probably they'll be making little less because they're facilitating, not the expert. But then at least they deliver the equal amount of value for what they earn. And that puts everyone on a fair play. If someone is not at all good at something, that is a fact. There are people who are not good at something and they cannot be teaching that. They need to upskill themselves. They become a student and they learn from experts and then they become good at it and they teach. Teaching is a skill. They need to learn how to teach. That is a course that they need to subscribe as well. And at the same time, students right now are the ones who are deciding the future. Nobody's forcing them. If they don't want to learn anything, if they just want to live a life which is, mediocre, it's their choice. But if they do want to learn, sky is the limit. They can go learn as much as they want. It is affordable. They're not paying $10,000, $50,000 and not stopping their education with a $300,000 student loan. They're paying very less because the teachers are making more money teaching more people. It is the economy of scale. The model changes, and it puts us in a beautiful place where we are able to customize the global learning system to oneself, to what works. Do I want a private teacher who only teaches me and nobody else? I'm happy to pay $10,000 a month. Fine, so be it. Or I just can pay $1 because I don't have money to afford a bread. And I can only afford $1 a month, then sure, there's a teacher who can teach to 10,000 people and still make it economically viable for both parties. All those possibilities open, which changes the number of people who will have opportunity to learn, number of people who will have opportunity to teach, and number of new business opportunities for things like local labs, assistants, facilitators, and whatnot. It flourishes that entire learning ecosystem and brings about so much innovation, which has never been seen before in the history of learning. And that, to me, is a freedom. That to me is decentralized learning. It's DED. It is all about the freedom to learn, to flourish, to bring the intellect to life and live a lifelong learning process, because it's not boring school anymore. It's an interactive learning model. That's what I see.
Thank you. Mitch, do you want
to... Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so the interesting thing with learning is that the playing field's not equal. It's not level. So we just take for granted that we have opportunity and we can go out and do things. But for many, many people, that's not the case. And so we're right at the start of this decentralized education journey. And what I see at the end of it is a level playing field. Because remember that, like the problems that you have in your life are different to the problems I have in my life. You're in Texas, I'm in South Africa. We have different challenges. It's like Key has different challenges in Dubai. We all have, if you lived in a rural village in India, you'd have different challenges. If you lived in a village in Kenya, your challenge would be different. You've got to learn different things. And there are global experts that are able to communicate those the education that you need. And, down the track, I could see that a village in India, for example, in the space of a year, if they could connect to educators or experts from the developed world that could teach them about primary healthcare, about HIV/AIDS transmission, about teenage pregnancy, about hydroponics and aquaponic farming, about sustainable energy, about hygiene, about social culture as a basis, as a fundamental, which often is lacking in a lot of parts in the world. And then on top of that, overlay and give them access to engineering, to space tech, to IT, to technology. Within the space of a year, that village could be the most educated village in India. Why? Because they've got access to experts that are incentivized to transfer value. And like, we are so used to sitting in classrooms with 20, 24, 30 people. Go to Malawi and try and sit in a classroom with 130 children, 6 of them around a desk sharing one dog-eared dirty textbook. I mean, what chance do they have against you? Nothing. They are completely lost. And yet, if we can track and transfer value from a teacher in a developed world that has a group of facilitators, and they can hook up with teachers that are locally situated, that maybe don't have a good education, that maybe don't have an incentive, that are very poorly paid, that are actually crowd-controlled experts and not really teachers, and we could incentivize that value transfer and teach those teachers so the teachers are learning at the same time, and it's economically viable, then there's an incentive for people to do things. Because it doesn't matter where you go, what you think, how altruistic we are. If a platform doesn't make money or a university doesn't make money, unless they really have got the heart and the mission to do it pro bono, then it's just not going to happen, because, money makes the world go round. So how do we do that? How do we actually track and transfer that value? Now, what we see down the track is access to experts that can change the direction, because it allows you not just to access education, but to access the marketplace. And all of our smart contracts are designed to help you progress through an ecosystem where you can learn, you can be incentivized, you can connect with community, and in that community, you can find like-minded people with similar interests and possibly opportunities out in the wider world that you can use to actually further yourself and create income and create opportunity for the people in your community. And let me tell you, like you go to Starbucks and you buy a $5 cappuccino, it's awesome. But give somebody in Africa $5, man, it's like a month's salary in some places. You know what I mean? That like buys food. That feeds a family. And imagine a system where somebody can learn about how to get, how to farm better in a sub-Saharan African environment. And while they're doing it, at the end of the day, they get some tokens popped into a wallet, and they can change those tokens within a community and go and buy a loaf of bread or buy some vegetables and actually feed their family while they're upskilling themselves. That's the power of education. That's the power of what Ford will bring to millions and millions of people around the world as we progress and really strive to meet them where they are and give opportunity, an equal playing field to everybody that's got the heart and really wants to learn.
I love hearing the passion and the enthusiasm that you both have for this. And it's really inspiring to hear about uses for this technology that go just beyond, turning a quick profit, but really trying to make the world more connected, supporting more equitable accesses to the resources that really allow us to make our lives what we want them to be. So, I'm really appreciative of what you're doing. So for, let's say, my sister, who is, she's actually an expert in aquaponics. Let's say she wants to join your ecosystem and start sharing her expertise. What does she do?
Okay. So that's a fundamental difference there, because what we provide is a technology, but we are not the platform where the learning happens. So if there is a platform in her industry who is having a, let's say, course marketplace or having some kind of a learning infrastructure, they can use Forward Protocol to blockchainize their infrastructure, and she will be learning there. But she's not coming to Forward to learn because we don't have teachers here and we don't teach here. But we are providing the technology to all the companies and organizations and communities who wants to leverage blockchain and run on this value transfer models. So as we work with more and more partners and expand, we are giving them more opportunities and places where they can use and work with blockchain-powered decentralized education models. And it is only set to grow. So she'll just be, end of the day, she'll be using the same platforms that she's using in the same manner that she's using, because even though it's blockchain-powered, we don't want to make it complex. They can still use their credit cards because the crypto will be on the back end. They still don't have to authorize the transactions and pay the gas fees. It can be gasless or delegated gas fees paid by someone else, like the platform by itself. So there are many of those models that we use to make the experience for the end user the same. They don't have to do anything more to get the benefit of decentralization and the blockchain. Unless it is that easy, it is not going to work. Or unless it takes that amount of time for them to adopt. So we need to meet them at a midpoint and find a part where people are able to use it without all those complexities. So she will soon be able to, she might not even know the platform that she is in could get upgraded to the blockchain-powered solution in the upcoming period. So, it's going to be everywhere, all around us.
Yeah.
And where can people go to see like the partners that you're already working with and kind of what your roadmap is for the future?
Okay. So we are constantly getting new partners onboarded and working on multiple deployments and whatnot. And we publish specific white papers for multiple deployments as well. If those are radically different and interesting, we write about it. So it is a great place. Reading our white paper is a great place to start. But our website, it has everything. It has logos of a lot of our partners. It has most things that they like to know, and the foundation is there on the website clearly. But if they can follow us on our Twitter and Telegram, that is amazing. I mean, depends on what they need. Mitch produces videos every single day on YouTube explaining and breaking the concepts in a simple layman terms. If they want to learn those basics and understand it, YouTube is a great place. If they just want to stay tuned to our announcements, Twitter and Telegram channels are amazing. If they want to interact with the Forward community, we have a great Telegram group. And if they like to enjoy with the pictorial fun, we have great Instagram with amazing photos there of all the events and places that we visit. It depends on what a person wants, but we have something for everyone. The end goal is great technology, but the poor marketing doesn't work. We make sure we balance both. We have a great tech on one side, great adoption, great users, and we have amazing marketing at all times to bring that adoption, because what we're trying to do here is big and we're trying to change the world, and it needs good amount of momentum to do it.
Excellent. Well, I'll be sure to put links to all of those places in our show notes so anyone who's listening can go learn more about the great things that you're doing. Is there anything else that y'all would like to share today before we sign off?
This entire decentralized education is not Forward's individual dream. It's not just my dream or Mitch's dream. It is the dream of what the world has been asking. From my young age, I've been hearing people wanting to change, wanting to reform, wanting to change something. With blockchain, every person, every one of you have that opportunity to be part of the change. You don't have to just vote for someone and sit for someone to make the change. You don't have to think about it, blog about it, and hope someone does it. With blockchain, you can do it. If you're an expert, you want to start running a blockchain-powered platform using Forward, do that. If you have an idea that you want to bring to life, do that. You can tell about decentralized revolution to more people. You can do your part, but do your part, because this is a community-driven thing. And if everyone do not work together on this, it will once again just be something that we all complain about and never do anything with. But if blockchain as a principle, we all as nodes, we all as members of what we believe, the philosophy that we live by, the power of decentralization is for us to do it together. And let's join hands and let's make this something that this generation realizes, and not something that's written in the books for someone else to enjoy and bear fruits from. Let's see it happen together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think if you're listening and you sort of realize that something is fundamentally wrong, I think we all do. the last couple of years have shaken us all up, and we sort of realized, man, things aren't, there's something wrong here. We got to fix it. Then I just encourage you, just start learning, because, as Key said, go through our material and come and join in. We're not going to get this done alone. We really need as much help as we can. And you know what? It's in your best interest, because the world is changing, learning is changing, and you might not think you can make a difference, but you can make a massive difference, because the more of us that are pulling together and putting our shoulder to the wheel, the quicker we're going to get the job done, the more opportunity we're going to create. And the decentralized learning platform really does help a lot of people, and you'll be doing your part. So I just encourage you to come along, be part of the journey. It's an exciting journey. It's going to be fun. We're going to learn together, and we're going to change the world together. It's been really nice chatting.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I've learned so much from this conversation, and I feel inspired to keep on keeping on. And for anyone who's listening, if you are brand new to blockchain, you don't know anything about the technology, you want to learn, Crypto Chicks Academy is one of the partners of Metis. It's a nonprofit organization with tons of educational courses that really explain the basics, and they break it down for people who are trying to get into understanding how the blockchain works and how it can be a useful tool. So thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and sign us off here. Stop recording.